And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. We're broadcasting live today from the Pearl Public Library in Pearl, Mississippi. Thus, you can tell, have a different setup that's here with me today. But we have a very special guest joining us today as we're wrapping up National Library Week. I want to first of all say hello to those joining us on the Amazon side. If you guys are new to our broadcast, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You see it either here in this corner or down below. You will also see the book by our next guest. We're excited to welcome to our broadcast today author Theresa Merritt-Watson. She's the author of this book, Black Tech. You all can see it there. I want to talk to Ms. Merritt-Watson not only about the writing of the book, but also let you guys know how to stay connected as well. We also are connecting here in a bit with our friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm going to give them a brief moment. And for those of you who are tuning in on the social media sites, we welcome you as well to our Amazon Live show today. We're again wrapping up National Library Week. You all will find a link that will bring you guys over to Amazon to be able to get Ms. Merritt-Watson's book, Black Tech. It's a great book. We've been discussing it all this week. We want to talk to her about the writing of the book. We also want to hear from you guys. If you have any questions or comments from Ms. Merritt-Watson, feel free to put those in the comment section. We have it open on all of our platforms, so we're going to make this an interactive experience. But Ms. Merritt-Watson, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Cyrus. I do appreciate that.
Well, I want to ask you about this experience. We've been spending time together. You and I've never met each other in person. Hey, look, at this point, you may not want to after this week. But we've had a lot of fun being able to discuss your book, Black Tech. Our audience can see it there. What has it been like for you? Because I've been able to tell the excitement you have, Ms. Merritt-Watson, in talking about these individuals. What has that been like for you to share these individuals with the world?
Well, it's really been rewarding to be able to share, and the individuals that I have in the book. However, I believe that just the curiosity and the importance of knowing Black history will give people the interest and desire to continue to expand on what I have, what I don't have in the book.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, bring up a really good point, because one of the things I've heard one teacher say to me, and I'm sure there are others who may have thought it that hadn't said it, Ms. Merritt-Watson, probably you've heard it, is they've said to me, I wish I had this book during Black History Month. And what I thought was so interesting about that was it really does show how that really all year this history is to be celebrated, because it's something that we're able to benefit from every day of our lives. What has that been like for you to show that it really does show in this book, Black Tech, that really Black history is all of our history year round?
Well, we appreciate the idea of having Black History Month. At the point in time that it was created, it started out as a week and then a month. But being that we're Black all year round, I think it's important that we actually embrace that history all year round, every day. And I advocate for parents to read and leave their kids with some Black history fact every day before they go to school or during the week, read Black history. So I think that it is a very important fact that you do this weekly, so you know. And once our individual African-American know their history, you're able to convey it and have a great appreciation. It actually kindle up something inside of you of pride. I know who I am, confidence.
Yeah. So let's make this personal then, Ms. Merritt-Watson. What has that done for you to have taken in this knowledge for yourself? What has that done for you in instilling that pride for yourself?
Well, I do have confidence in who I am. I'm very assured of who I am and my Black history, my culture, and being able to not just instill it in myself, but it resonate about me through other people. They see it as well, so that's important to me, for me to not lose my identity. And my identity is solid of who I am. And I think once it will make it harder for us to adapt, for me to adapt to someone else's identity, because I know my culture and who I am. And I think that it will definitely impede the ability for our children, our parents, our African American society to adjust and adapt to some of the things that are going on and that are negative and not healthy for our community.
Yeah. Well, this show that I'm doing today here at the Pearl Public Library, Ms. Merritt-Watson, could not be done with our friends at Amazon if it was not for one of the things you discuss in that book, and that is the cell phone. I have to admit, I did not know this history. And for those who have not gotten their copy of the book, I see you all on the Amazon side already clicking it and getting it for yourselves. So we appreciate that. And again, if you have any questions or comments from Ms. Merritt-Watson, make sure you put those in the comment section as well. But I want to read what you wrote in the book, Ms. Merritt-Watson, about this, because what for those who are just finding out about Black tech, what you're able to get is a story with young people in it, but also showing the contributions of others along the way and how these young people are able to appreciate that. You write in the book, my grandparents live far away, but Jesse Russell's invention lets me talk to them from anywhere in the world. So for those who may be wondering, well, who is Jesse Russell? Well, you're able to get the answer in the book. Invention, the modern cell phone. Born in Nashville, Tennessee on April 26th, this month, 1948. Attended Tennessee State University, Nashville, Tennessee, and you can see the picture there. What was it like for you to discover what Jesse Russell has done? Like I said, I did not know this before reading this book. What was it like for you to discuss how Jesse Russell was able to create something that literally people around the world are using?
Well, Jesse Russell, when you talk about the phone, you don't think about an African American man, but I know the younger generation don't know analog and digital cell phone. And so when you look up who invented the cell phone, Jesse Russell, he comes up in the latter part of Google. However, you have to start doing a dive and understand the components and some of the elements of cell phone. He was so instrumental in his design of the cell phone. And me, personally, I learned a lot more as I continue to unpack the things that Jesse Russell and how he came about creating this cell phone.
I love that. And you just brought up something very interesting, and it's something that's important for our audience here, Ms. Merritt-Watson, and that is it's one thing to do a Google search. It's another thing to do that deep dive, to do that extra bit. Is that what
Right.
you hope people do as they read about different individuals in this book, that they may see the name and say, you know what, I'd like to find out more about that person?
Well, I'm hoping so. For a while, we had Black History Month, and the kids learned some basic foundational things about Martin Luther King. Not even doing a deep dive into Martin Luther King. He has such a rich history. Rosa Parks. These people have such rich history, but there's more to African American than what our kids are exposed to in school. So that's why one of the key things for me is that parents engage in teaching their kids or sharing with their kids Black history fact. That learning your culture does more than just educating you on what was created.
One thing that we talked about this week as we've been going throughout our tour, and for those who don't know, is we're now here, as I mentioned, the Pearl Public Library here in Pearl, Mississippi, as we're wrapping up National Library Week. I've been talking with Ms. Merritt-Watson with different schools throughout the state, Meridian, Yazoo City, as well as even in Indiana. But one thing that we talked about, Ms. Merritt-Watson, is the fact that the way this book is written, young people are really showing us by example. They are able to recognize, because of what they've been taught, the contributions of others. Talk to us about the role of educators and parents, because that's one of the conversations you've had recently with one of the teachers that we talked to. What do you hope parents understand about instilling this knowledge in their children, but also teachers being able to do that as well?
First, I'm going to start with the parents. I think when people say parents are the first teacher, that is a very true statement. And so I encourage parents not to leave all your education up to schools. So the parent need to be able to allow their kids to leave home with a sense of pride, a sense of not just pride, but cultural pride. And in able to do that, they need to know who they are. So that makes it really imperative that the parent know who they are, what their culture have done. As it relates to the teacher need to also, when you do history, Black history should never have been suppressed in the way that it has been. It is part of the history. It is really a crucial part. That if you look at just the technology, just the basic, and these are not all. This is 14 people,
Yeah.
and if you look at the things, just those 14 people have contributed. Not just many of them, not just to America, but to the world. We don't get to know that, but we get to know things that Hoover have done, things that Washington, Lincoln. We know these people. We know the Confederate. We know Jim Crow. We know these things, but we don't know things that actually you use every day. The teachers can really change the trajectory for many kids, not just African American kids, of embracing a sense of unity and being able to nurture some of the passions that African American have. I want to say this, Cyrus. Every child have an interest or passion. You can elect to nurture that passion and get the best out of the student, or not nurture that passion. So when you're in school, you have, let's say, 30 students. That's at the top line. You have 30 students. And when you have that many students, it is hard to individualize. However, one of the key things that you can do is to, if you have someone interested in space and someone interested in technology, the common components for those two is mathematics. So, you have to learn how to nurture people and don't really wrap your head around their economic or their home environment. You can nurture their interest and passion. That's what teachers can do. So can parents, actually.
Yeah. Such a great point. And it really does show how it's all about working together, right, Ms. Merritt-Watson? Of course, as you mentioned, the education is such an important component. Of course, we want the teachers to be able to do what they can, but as you mentioned, not just leave everything up to them. The parents can be a role as well. So let's talk about that in those components. Well, first of all, let me reset real quick, Ms. Merritt-Watson. I see people coming in on YouTube. Hello to you guys. If you all are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Web Presents here on Amazon Live, but we are simulcasting this today on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We're talking with author Theresa Merritt-Watson today about this book you guys see here, Black Tech. It's available right now on Amazon, both in print as well as the Kindle edition as well. If you guys have any questions or comments from Ms. Merritt-Watson, feel free to be able to put those in the comment section. I'll be moderating those for us here, and we'll be glad to be able to get those up for you as well. But I want to talk about what you just mentioned, because I think it's such an important thing. Parents have a lot going on. I'm not a parent myself, but, I hear from parents about, the challenges they face in, of course, providing for their families, but also making sure they take that time. What do you hope a book like this does in showing them the importance of that time and what it can show their kids is possible for them, as Merritt-Watson, when it comes to learning about those who came before them?
Well, one time, I can say that I know I do have adult children now. So one of the things that you do have to do is allocate the time. It's like you schedule your work time, you schedule your cook time. Even if you're not writing it down, when you get home, this is what you're going to do. You can say that I am going, and it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's very valuable time. I am going to allocate 10 minutes to read into my child. Now, if you could just put that 10 minutes into your schedule during the day, you will see the growth in your children. Reading to your children have a really huge impact, not just at home, but it started impacting the external things that they're doing, including school.
Mm-hmm. Right. Such a great thing. And I think too, what I love about the way this book is written, especially the cover. I want to talk about the cover. You and I have not discussed this, but let me tell you what I took away from it as the reader. And I'm curious as to what you're already grinning. So what the way I took about it is how this knowledge really helps a kid to soar. That's what I thought about when I saw the cover. What was your vision for this cover when it comes to Black Tech?
Well, it's so funny because I did have an interview yesterday, and the cover, people took on a different meaning, and it was just interesting. And the eagle is a very powerful bird. And this is the reason why, by the way, Cyrus, the one thing I did, the bird do represent is this ability to soar. Mm-hmm. And so not to be able to, and a bird has some unique features and characteristics. And in the book, I actually wrote the purpose of the eagle. And I know that North Carolina Central people are just totally elated that you use the eagle. But I say we use the eagle on this cover because it symbolizes loyalty, devotion, freedom, trust, honor, the divine hope, foresight, spiritual awareness. The eagle characteristics are the same traits that you need for critical thinking and creativity. And that's the way it's designed. That's the purpose of the eagle, because once you get, even if you fail, you learn some things in your failure. And I don't know anybody that have ever just started a business and jumped off and just did 100% things correct. So your successes and your failures are to be embraced, because embracing your failure means to me that you're embracing you have learned some things in that failure process. So the eagle, I'll go back to the eagle. The eagle is truly for soaring. And that's the reason. I know I get a lot of flack about a little kid on the eagle back, but the eagle, this is cartoon, so you can have a vivid imagination however you want it, by the way. And but I made it a point yesterday, if an animal is trying to attack an eagle, one of the things that the eagle will do is fly so high that they can't breathe, so they're forced to let go. So it also tells me that when things get rough, try to hang in there. Just keep going if it's practical, if it's feasible. I can tell myself that as well sometimes.
Right. Well, and I think too, and I appreciate you sharing that. And that's, again, one of the great things about this book is that, and we didn't talk about it, but the illustrations are also a great compliment to what you've written, Ms. Merritt-Watson. But I love the fact too, it really is about applied knowledge. So many times we go to school, we hear stuff, right? But are we truly taking it in? It's very obvious that the young people in this book have taken that in because they're able to make those connections. And I thought for myself, this is going to help me look at things differently. Honestly, I mean that sincerely, because it's like, oh, I didn't know, and that gives me something I can share. Is that part of your hope too? As people, I know you have a mission to get this book into as many hands as possible, not just young people, but of course adults as well. But is that part of your thing, that people start looking at the world around them differently and the contributions to this world differently?
That is definitely part of my mission. And not only African American, but all people. I think the approach and the attitude towards African Americans would be like a little different, because they know that we have done some things. I've mentioned to you, Cyrus, that when I sent the book out, most people didn't know more than 2 people in the book. And I'm talking about adults between 20 and 85. And
Wow.
so, I'm hoping that it makes this tremendous change, even though I was told by one of the individuals, oh, you can get these facts on Google. Well, if we can get the facts on Google, then all the Black people will be really knowledgeable about what we've done. And we can indeed get them, but when you put it into a readable form for people to be able to understand that, where to go. I not only want them to just look at the 14 people, I want them to start doing a deep dive in other things that we have done. That's one of my goals.
Yeah. So, but that brings up an interesting point to push back on too, Ms. Merritt-Watson, from others, because if they can get them on Google, the question is then why haven't they? That's the importance of a book like this, right? I mean, because a lot of times you wouldn't think to look these things up. We just use them, just like us. We pick up the phone. We don't think about who created the phone. We don't
Right.
think about who created the traffic light. We just know we have something to say when the traffic light's not working. But we don't think about where it comes from. And to that point, you mentioned about a lot of people could mention. Only one I knew for sure was Garrett Morgan. That's the one, every Black History month, I remember Garrett Morgan. So that one was stuck in my head. But I love the way that it's written in this book too, because it says, when traveling to my school, Garrett Morgan's invention helps us to get there safely. It tells us when to slow down, stop, and go. And if people look at that picture, it really does illustrate that well about what can happen when you don't have things like that. So it really does show the importance of those contributions. And I think too, it makes us look at it differently, Ms. Merritt-Watson, for me, because it's like, okay, this is not just something that's hanging up there in the street. It's something that is life-saving. And so, the same is true with another one I didn't know about, Frederick Jones. Didn't know about Frederick Jones. Talk to us about that. One of the questions I know you were asked this week was, what kind of stood out to you? Which one of these individuals really stood out to you? Share with our audience, if you don't mind, some of those who stood out to you.
Well, I'll stay with Frederick Jones. One of the things, Frederick Jones has a lot of history. He was the delivery, primarily initially, of medicine to the hospitals. But by the time he got to the hospital, the medicine, it was no good. And so he had to devise a system to be able to keep that medicine in good condition for that long travel. Now, Frederick Jones, to be able to do that. So in the process, this is a self-taught engineer. And as you see in my book, we'll talk about that later, but he's a self-taught engineer. So he created the refrigerated truck. And then what do we have? Ice cream. We have refrigerators in the stores. And so what you see is he saw something that was deficient, and so he started building on it. And our students today can do the same thing. You can see something missing, and you can actually take the creativity that you have, you can take the passion that you have, and actually create it, build it, design it. So that's one of the people that I really like, because he saw a problem and he said,
Right.
Let me fix this.
Right. Instead of just talking about the problem like so many people do today. We're good at doing that part. We'll talk about what doesn't work and what's not doing.
Right.
But here you have individuals who took action. You mentioned, and we can get into that, Ms. Merritt-Watson, that you do share in the book, like if they did attend a university, you share that information. If they are self-taught, like Frederick Jones, you share that. What was that like for you to see? I was interested, honestly, thinking about the invention and whether the person was self-taught or not, because that to me was fascinating. But what about that interested you?
Well, it interested me because many of our kids do not go to college. People sometimes will position you to think if you don't go to college, you can't be successful.
Right.
Well, we see many people, and they don't often talk about the people that that is successful and have not gone to college. So I wanted students to know, if you do not go, that doesn't mean life ends when you finish high school. You have to just work in Burger King for the rest of your life. That doesn't mean that. And so I wanted people to invoke the skill, let you know that learning, this process, what we call learning from kindergarten to 12th grade, it has real value. And not only that, I wanted to also show that HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, play a vital role in our student development. And so being that people sometimes don't see the value, I have talked about getting rid of HBCUs. I just say you can't get rid of HBCUs because, that is one of the key driving forces of the success of doctors, lawyers. We have many of those, like over 50, 60% of our doctors went to HBCU. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine, not having that?
Right.
So, and then we do list the PWIs that are in the book, but it's highlighted HBCUs and self-taught is for our people to know.
And I'm sure for those colleges and universities too, Ms. Merritt-Watson, they appreciate the shout out.
Cyrus, I know you can edit this, but it would have great meaning if we as African Americans can say we could take $5 and do an automatic draft every month for our HBCUs. HBCUs actually suffers. They actually suffer, and from a financial perspective.
Yeah. And I think so. That's why conversations like this are so important. And I appreciate you guys. I see you guys over there saying hello to us on YouTube. But if you have any question for Ms. Merritt-Watson, if you're just listening and learning like a lot of us are, I appreciate that too. But if you have a question for Ms. Merritt-Watson, feel free to put those in the comment section. We'll be glad. I do appreciate you guys being here though with us live. The replay of this will be available as well for you guys too. But if you do have a question, this is your opportunity to be able to speak with the author themselves. So, Ms. Merritt-Watson, I know you have more you're going to be doing. You have, an organization that you are able to do. We're going to let our audience know where they can find out more information about that. What is your hope for our audience out there that's just discovering the book? What is your hope that Black Tech does for them?
Well, I hope it actually help you build a culture, understand. Well, let's see. Let me how to phrase this. I want it to impact how you view history, how you view our contribution. I want you to learn about the contribution of African American. I want you to be able to see the merging of the different culture that it took to build this country. And so not leaving anyone out. I really, I took history, and just fortunately, my history teacher was an African American male, and we went through that little agenda that he had for the curriculum, but then he pounded on us the importance of African American history and how it impedes our growth and development. So what do I want them to take for it? I want you to take for it your commitment. I want you to commit to working within your community to strengthen your community through this book and other books that I write.
Hello to you, Joseph Keene of Betty Bags. Does great work there here in my home state of Mississippi. It says hello to you as well. Ms. Merritt-Watson as well. In fact, you got a chance to speak to Joseph's mother, Melissa Jacobson, yesterday. We were at the school from Pickingham, Mississippi, right? That his mother's an educator there. And I really appreciate you all being with us. Again, I want to say for those joining us on Amazon, the book is available both in paperback, as I have it here. I bought mine on Amazon, as well as the Kindle edition. However, I want to let all of you know that Ms. Merritt-Watson also has a website you all can go to for more information as well. We're going to go ahead and pull that up on the screen for you guys here to be able to see. The website is synergytrainingsolutions.org. Again, that's synergytrainingsolutions.org is that website. You all can be able to find out more information about Ms. Merritt-Watson there, the work that she's doing, and of course, the book book as well. But again, synergytrainingsolutions.org is that website for you to find out more information as well. Ms. Merritt-Watson, this has been a great half hour with you. I really appreciate you staying with us to be able to be a part of these conversations that are so important. And also us being able to learn so much, because I can honestly say I learned so much through this book myself. And again, I think regardless of your age, there's something a lot of us can learn. But I think the most important thing is not only to learn it, but to share it. Yes. And that's what you've been able to do as well. So Ms. Merritt-Watson, looking forward to speaking with you again.
I am looking forward to it, Cyrus. Thank you so much.
More than welcome. And we thank all of you for tuning into this episode of Cyrus Represents on Amazon Live. You guys are new to us on the Amazon side. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You'll see it either here in this corner or down below. Also, as I mentioned, you'll see Black Tech there as well. For those who are joining us on the other platforms, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, you will see the link that will bring you guys over to Amazon. You can get the book there. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you so much for being with us. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.